Okay, so we're on page 48 and we're doing questions 28 through 36. They are asking us to find the values of the variables. So if you look on question number 28, you have two vertical angles. This angle is 105 and they want you to find the value of x. We know that vertical angles are congruent, which means they have equal measure. So then basically I can set these two angles equal to each other. When I do that, I'm basically saying that 2x minus 11, uh, 2x minus 11 is equal to 105, because I'm saying that these two angles are the same. So basically, after that, all I have to do is just use simple algebra to solve for x. I add 11 to both sides, they cancel out, the 2x comes down, 105 plus 11 is 116, I divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 58. So I have found the value of x. And if I want to check my answer, well then all I would have to do is that I would just take the x and plug it back into this angle here. I know that vertical angles are congruent and this should be equal. So if I put 58 in here, this whole angle here should equal to 105. And if you look here, that's what I did. I said that here's my angle, 2x minus 11. I plugged in the 58. 2 times 58 is 116. 116 minus 11 comes out to be 105, which is exactly what the other angle is across from here, so it checks out. So not only did I find x, but I was also able to find this angle and check the answer. Let's look at question number 29. 29 now, I have these two angles, which are not vertical angles. They are two adjacent angles, and if you recognize them from our notes, they are a linear pair. And a linear pair are supplementary angles. That means that these two angles, when I add them up together, they add up to 180 degrees. So that's what I did here. I set up my equation where I add these two angles together and they equal to 180 degrees. So here's my 6x plus 19 plus x is equal to 180. Now the first thing I did was I just combined like terms. I took the 6x plus the 1x, that gives me 7x. And the 19 just comes down, so I have 7x plus 19 is equal to 180 after I combine like terms. After that, it's just basic algebra. I'm trying to solve for x, so I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides. The 7x comes down. 180 minus 19 is 161, so 7x is equal to 161. I divide both sides by 7, and x is equal to 23 degrees. So this angle right here is going to be 23 degrees. Now, if I wanted to check my work, and I wanted to find the measure of all the angles, that'd be pretty easy to do. I can do that here. Here's my first angle, 6x plus 19. I plugged into 23, so 6 times 23 plus 19 is going to give me the measure of this angle here. So 6 times 23 is 138. 138 plus 19 is 57, 157. So look what I found there. I know that this angle here is 23 because x is 23 and that's just x. And then when I went to go check my work, I plugged in the x here and I found the measure of this angle as well, which is 157. So this angle here is 157 and this angle here is just 23. And if I add them together, the 157 plus the 23, what do I get? I get 180. Why do I get 180? Because these two angles are a linear pair. That's why I added them together and set them equal to 180 in the first place, because they are supplementary. Linear pairs are supplementary. Let's move on to question number 30. Question number 30 again. I have two angles here, and I hope you recognize them as vertical angles because they are across from each other and their sides are straight lines as we discussed in class. So I know that vertical angles are congruent. They are equal in measure. So basically, what I'm going to say here is then, I'm going to say that this angle here is equal to that angle there. 5x minus 2 is equal to 78. After that, guys, it just becomes a straight algebra equation to solve for x. Subtract 2 from both sides, the 5x comes down, 78 plus 2 is 80. Divide both sides by 5, and x is equal to 16. So x is 16. Of course, this angle here is 78. I know that this would be 78 as well. And if I wanted to check my work, well, what do I do with this x? Well, if you guessed that you plugged it in here, you guessed correctly. So you look here, Here's my 5x minus 2. I plugged in the 16 as the x. So 5 times 16 minus 2. 5 times 16 is 80. 80 minus 2 is 78. And that's what the other angle is here, so it checks out. So I know that I'm doing it correctly. I know that I'm solving for the variable correctly, and I've been able to find the angles if I needed to. Okay. Question 31 is a little bit trickier now. Question 31 is a little bit tricky. If you notice here, I have a lot of vertical angles and I have a lot of linear pairs. Okay? So if I look here at the top, these two are linear pairs. But the problem is, I can't combine these two angles because this has a y and this has an x. They don't have like terms. If you look at the bottom, these two right here are also linear pairs, but again, this has a y variable and that has an x variable, and they're not like terms, so I'm not going to be able to combine them. But if I look here and here, well, aren't these a linear pair? Yes, they are. They're also a linear pair, and they also have the same variable, y and y. And if I look here as well, these also are a linear pair, and they also have the same variable, x and x. So I know that if I add these two angles together, they're supplementary. And I know that if I add these two angles together, these are also going to be supplementary. So let's solve for y first. Let's add these two angles together and solve them for y. So what I'm going to do here is, you're going to notice, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add these two angles together, y minus 12 plus 3y minus 8, and I'm going to set it equal to 180. Because I know that these two angles are supplementary, they're a linear pair, they add up to 180, so I know that if I add them together and put like terms, they should equal to 180, so I'm going to do that here. So first things first, y plus 3y is going to give me 4y. Negative 12 plus negative 8 is going to give me negative 20, and that's going to be equal to 180. And from here, I could just do regular algebra. So get rid of the 20, so plus 20, that cancels out. The 4y comes down. 180 plus 20 is 200. Divide both sides, so I have 4y is equal to 200. Divide both sides by 4, and y is equal to 50. Y is equal to 50. So I know y is equal to 50. And if I wanted to find out how big these angles are here, well, all I have to do is plug in the y into there, right? So y is 50. 50 minus 12 is going to give you 38 degrees. Okay? And just from that alone, I should be able to figure out what this angle is here. But let's go back over here. Let's take a look at these two supplementary angles and find out the value of x. Again, if I add these two together, they should be equal to what? 180 degrees. And that's what I did here. I added my two angles together. If you look at your paper, the two angles you have are 6x minus 32 plus and 2x minus 20. So if I add them together, they're going to be supplementary. They're going to equal to 180. So I'm going to add the like terms. 6x plus 2x is 8x. Negative 32 plus negative 20 is negative 52. And the 180 comes down. Now I'm going to get rid of this 52, so I add 52 to both sides. My 8x comes down. 180 plus 52 is 232. So 8x is equal to 232. Divide both sides by 8, and x is equal to 29. X is 29. So, mind you, I know that x is 29. Now, do I know the measure of these angles here? I know this one because I plugged in y, which is 50, right? 50, and 50 minus 12 is 38. And, could I find the measure of these other angles here? Sure. All I have found so far is found the value of y and the value of x, which is what they're asking me for, which is all I need right now. But if I wanted to find the value of these angles here, I could do the check like we did in questions 28, 29, and 30, and you can find the value of those angles. Let's move on to question number 32. Question 32 is very similar to question 31. Again, these are linear pairs. These are all linear pairs. These are linear pairs. These are, these are linear pairs. These are vertical angles here, right? These are vertical angles. If I look at my vertical angles, I know they're congruent, but they don't have the same variable. So I'm not going to mess with that. And if we look at these vertical angles, I know that they're congruent as well, but they don't have the same variable either, so I can't do anything algebraically with them. If I look again at these two angles here, again, these two are a linear pair, but again, this has a y and this has an x, so I don't want to mess with that either. However, if I look here, I know that these are a linear pair. They add up to 180. They're supplementary, and they have the same variable. I also know that these here are a linear pair, and they also have the same variable, which makes it very convenient for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up my equation. I'm going to say then that these two added together are equal to 180, that they're supplementary, and I should do that here. So 2y plus 28 plus 4y minus 26 is equal to 180 degrees. Now I'm just going to just combine like terms. 2x plus 4y is 6y. 28 plus 26 is plus 54. That's equal to 180. I subtract 54 from both sides. I'm sorry I didn't write that step here. I subtract 54 from both sides. When I do that, the 54s cancel out, and 180 minus 54 is 126. So 6y is equal to 126. I divide both sides by 6, and y is equal to 21. Okay? Y is equal to 21. So if I wanted to check now I know that y is 21, but do I know the size of these angles here? No, I don't. But if I wanted to find them, what would I do? Well, I would do 2 times 21 plus 28. So let's do that real quick. Well, 2 times 21, well, that's times 2, so that's going to be 42. So it's going to be 42 plus 28, right? And 42 plus 28 is going to give me 70. So then I know that this angle here would be 70 degrees, right? This angle here would be 70 degrees. And if I know that this angle is 70, well, it'd be pretty easy to figure this angle right here, right? I could say that this angle is equal to what? 110, right? So what you could do is you could set this equation, 4x plus 10 is equal to 110 degrees. That would be a pretty good shortcut. So yeah, if I did these two first, well, I know the value of y is 21. Now I can find the value of this angle here. So 2 times 21 is 42 plus 28 is going to give me 70, right? It's going to give me 70. And if this angle is 70, well, I know that these two angles together add up to how much? They're supplementary. They should add up to 180. So this angle here should be what? 110. So I could say that this angle is equal to 110. So I could say 4x plus 10 is equal to 110. And then I just subtract 10 from both sides. So 4x is equal to 100, right? And if I divide both sides by 4, what's 100 divided by 4? Well, the 100 divided by 4 is going to give me 25. So x is equal to 25. Now, some people might have done it a different way. Some students might have just gone, you know what, Mr. C, I know that shortcut's pretty cool right now, but I just want to just add these two together because I'm a little bit more comfortable with that. I know that if I add these two together, they're supplementary, and they add up to 180 degrees. So let's do that then. I'm going to add these two together, these two angles, 4x plus 10 and 3x minus 5. So I did that here. So here is my 4x plus 10 plus 3x minus 5 is equal to 180. Combine like terms. 4x plus 3x is 7x. Positive 5 plus negative 5 is positive 5. And that's equal to 180. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. My 7x is going to come down. This cancels out. And 180 minus 5 is 175. Divide both sides by 7. And oh, look at that. What is x? X is equal to what? 25. The exact same thing that I got here, right? When I took that little detour, that little shortcut. So either way, I'm going to get the same answer. Either way, I'm going to get the same answer. So I added these two together and set them equal to 180. And I got x is equal to 25. Or after I realized the size of this angle here, which is 70, I know that this angle here should be a 110 because